What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT, here with my NFL Conference Championship weekend preview. NFC Championship, Rams versus Seahawks Part 3. The AFC Championship comes down to the Broncos versus the Patriots. We're not going to be giving out any predictions for these games. We're going to be saving that for another episode. What we're going to be doing is discussing and breaking down how all four teams can win their conference championship games and punch their ticket to the Super Bowl, which is only 2 weeks away. If you live, eat, breathe, and die football, congratulations, you have arrived at the right place. We're talking all things football, NFL, college football, 24/7, 365 days throughout the year. If you're a football junkie like me and you can't go a day without talking about football, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop new content. It's the wrong time of the year to miss anything that we have dropping on JT Sports, man. The Super Bowl is what we've been waiting all season long for, and it is just around the corner. We are about to crown a Super Bowl champion, so you definitely don't want to miss anything. Make sure that you have post notifications turned on. Check us out wherever you get your podcast from. JT Sports is available. You can find this episode along with all of our others in audio format on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. You can find JT Sports. Give us a 5-star review if you enjoy the content, you want to support the grind. All we ask is that you rate us 5 stars. It doesn't take that much work, only takes a few seconds to do. The links to the pod are down in the pinned comment and description down below. Let's dive into it. Just because the Broncos are going into the AFC Championship game against the Patriots without their starting quarterback, Bo Nix, doesn't guarantee that they're going to lose this game. The reason why Bo Nix played as well as what he did against the Bills and why he's been as good as what he's been this season for the Broncos is mainly due to Sean Payton. Sean Payton is one of the best offensive minds in NFL history, and he was coaching circles around Sean McDermott and the Bills last week. They had pretty much zero answers for anything that the Broncos were doing on offense. Bo Nix, the main reason why you were confident he was going to succeed with the Broncos is because you had confidence in Sean Payton's ability to elevate him, since Sean Payton has elevated nearly every single quarterback that he's got his hands on. Remember nearly a decade ago in 2017 when the Philadelphia Eagles lost Carson Wentz, who was the MVP frontrunner going into the playoffs? They were still able to win the Super Bowl with their backup quarterback, who was Nick Foles. And I expect for Sean Payton to elevate Jarrett Stidham to a 2017 Nick Foles level. When Sean Payton had Teddy Bridgewater starting in replace for Drew Brees, when we didn't even know if Teddy Bridgewater was ever going to be able to play football again after the gruesome leg injury that he had with the Minnesota Vikings, Sean Payton got Teddy Bridgewater back. When Sean Payton had Teddy Bridgewater start for him with the Saints, he went 5-1 with them, and Teddy Bridgewater posted a 10-3 touchdown interception ratio. Sean Payton is also the only head coach in NFL history that's been able to have Jameis Winston playing efficient football. It gets very forgotten how Sean Payton, his final season in New Orleans, was in first place in the NFC South with a 5-2 record with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston that season in 2021 outplayed Aaron Rodgers in week 1, and he had the best touchdown interception ratio in the league before he got injured, 14-3. Sean Payton also went 7-2 with one of the greatest gadget players that this league has ever seen in Taysom Hill. So if Sean Payton can win with Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, and Taysom Hill, he can beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship game with Jarrett Stidham. Yes, Bo Nix is better than Jarrett Stidham. He's more talented, better arm, more athletic. But Bo Nix is only as good because he's been a product of Sean Payton's system and play calling. So just because Bo Nix isn't going to be available in this game doesn't just outright guarantee the Patriots are going to win this thing. There's a reason why Sean Payton is going to be a future Hall of Famer and why he's one of the greatest offensive minds this game has seen. He runs a quarterback-friendly offense. He always knows how to get the best with whoever he has underneath center. If the Broncos are going to win with Jarrett Stidham, Courtland Sutton and Evan Ingram gotta have monster games. Courtland Sutton always produces when he's heavily targeted. It's just that there's been a good amount of games this year the Broncos haven't really had to go his way. With the injuries that they have to Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin, Courtland Sutton's going to have to be that go-to guy on third down. He's going to be that guy that they have to go to get instant offense in the passing game when they need to. Evan Ingram, Sean Payton was very excited when they signed him in free agency. He's supposed to be his joker. And Evan Ingram, although he hasn't really had that much production this year, he's more than capable of being able to go off in this game. Evan Ingram, he's a matchup problem for whichever defense he's going up against due to how athletic he is. Most linebackers don't have the speed to keep up with him in pass coverage, and most defensive backs that line up against Evan Ingram don't have the size to match up with Evan Ingram. So when you have this blend of athleticism and physicality, that's what Evan Ingram has, he could prove to be a matchup problem for the Patriots, especially with their linebacking core not really being all that great in coverage. I don't think they have any safeties that can line up against Evan Ingram either. So I expect for Courtland Sutton and Evan Ingram to have monster games if the Broncos end up pulling out this win, since they're going to be the two top targets that Jarrett Stidham is going to have to throw the football to. It also helps that the Broncos have the best offensive line in the NFL when it comes to protecting the quarterback. They've given up the least amount of sacks this season. The Patriots have all right pass rush. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. Their top two sack producers have been Kayvon Chasen and Harold Landry. And they did a pretty good job against the Texans last week. The Texans don't have halfway as good as an offensive line as what the Broncos do. And I don't see the Patriots pass rush being able to get that much pressure on Jarrett Stidham unless they send extra guys. With the quick passing offense that Sean Payton likes to run, getting the ball out fast with slants, drags, bubble screens, blitzing Jarrett Stidham will be a huge mistake by the New England Patriots. You don't want to blitz a Sean Payton offense since they have so many answers for whatever you throw at them on defense. J.K. Dobbins, he returns from IR. He's expected to play in this game. He's going to provide a huge boost to the Broncos' rushing attack, which struggled against the Bills. They only had 70 yards rushing. The run game has struggled without J.K. Dobbins. Before he got injured, he was averaging 5 yards per carry. He was one of the best running backs in the league. And with him coming back, the Broncos are going to be more efficient on first and second down, setting up more third and manageable situations. When you have a backup quarterback like Jarrett Stidham, you want to make the game as easy as possible for him to manage. So you want to be in third and medium, third and short very often, and J.K. Dobbins' return is going to help that. You're going to have the ability to be able to be unpredictable on third down, because if you're in third and medium, third and short, there's a lot that you can do from a play calling standpoint. It doesn't necessarily mean that you got to throw the football if you're in 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. You can run the football on 3rd and 6 and still pick up the first down, especially behind the offensive line as good as what the Broncos have. J.K. Dobbins also can take a lot of the burden off of Jarrett Stidham, to where if Jarrett Stidham can only throw the football 18, 20 times, and J.K. Dobbins runs for 125 yards, 2 touchdowns, he's averaging 6 yards per carry. That's pretty much the ideal game that Sean Payton wants to have on offense. You don't want to ask Jarrett Stidham to have to carry the team to a win. Could he do so with Sean Payton calling the plays? Absolutely, but you have to be able to play complementary football in the playoffs, and J.K. Dobbins allows the Broncos to be able to do that at a very high level. The Broncos pass rush, I love the matchup of the Broncos defensive line against the Patriots offensive line. The Patriots' two offensive tackles struggled against the Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson last week, especially their rookie left tackle, Will Campbell. He was getting eaten alive by Will Anderson. Nick Bodino could do the same thing to Will Campbell that we saw Will Anderson do to him last week. Will Campbell has had a very solid rookie season, but he does have a tendency to struggle against speed rushers. Nick Bodino is one of the better up-and-coming young pass rushers that we have in the league right now, along with Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen. I think the matchup that decides this game is the Broncos pass rush against a very shaky Patriots offensive line. Drake Maye has been sacked 5 times in both of the Patriots playoff wins. He's been one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league throughout this season. And we saw the Texans be able to come away with a few strip sack fumbles on Drake Maye last week. I expect for the Broncos to come away with a few strip sack fumbles, be able to flip the field and give their offense favorable field position. If the Broncos beat the Patriots, it's going to be an all-around great performance. You're not going to be asking Jarrett Stidham to light the world on fire. He's going to be good at managing the game, since J.K. Dobbins' return is going to provide a huge boost to that rushing attack, so they'll be able to control time of possession, be able to play complimentary ball. You got Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram, 2 reliable weapons in the pass game when you do have to drop back and ask Jarrett Stidham to throw the football. And you got an offensive line that's number 1 in sacks allowed, giving up the least amount of sacks in the NFL this year. And Sean Payton, like he did with Teddy Bridgewater, Taysom Hill, and Jameis Winston, winning with them without Drew Brees, he could do the same thing with Jarrett Stidham. I'm not going to count out the Broncos with Sean Payton on the sidelines based on what he's done in the past with backup quarterbacks. If the Patriots beat the Broncos in the AFC Championship, the huge advantage that's going to give them the win is the quarterback edge. Drake Maye has outplayed every quarterback that the Patriots have faced in the playoffs. Yeah, he's had a few issues taking care of the football, but that's more so due to the inconsistencies that the Patriots have had on the offensive line. With the athleticism that the Broncos have on their defensive line as far as their pass rushers, Drake Maye's ability to break out of sacks, his athleticism to keep drives alive, especially on 3rd down, is going to be huge for the Patriots in this game. Yeah, Will Anderson was terrorizing Will Campbell, but you saw Drake Maye have a few plays when he was able to escape the grasp of Will Campbell. This dude is a very good athlete. He's very nimble. He's not like Lamar or Josh Allen, anything like that, but he's just very smooth with how he runs with the ball. The Patriots, I think what makes them so good offensively is their ability to generate big plays. They have Stephon Diggs, Pop Douglas, a lot of different receivers that can come in and contribute, that can generate big plays downfield. The Broncos pass defense, as good as what it looks like on paper, they are prone to getting beat over the top, especially if you target Riley Moss. Riley Moss is the weak link of the Broncos secondary. The majority of the big plays that they give up is normally on him. Obviously, you're not going to go to Pat Surtain, since Pat Surtain is the best corner in the NFL, and targeting him would just be outright suicide. You're just asking for trouble. So you want Stephon Diggs matched up against Riley Moss. And despite Stephon Diggs' age, this dude is still a superstar. Stephon Diggs is still one of the better receivers in the league. I think Stephon Diggs is still a top 15 receiver. The Patriots just haven't needed Stephon Diggs to have a lot of big performances. But when they've targeted Stephon Diggs 9-10 times in certain games this year, he's gone off. This dude is still a playmaker. This dude is still a receiver that you don't want to have a guy like Riley Moss covering. So if you got Pat Surtain against Stephon Diggs, then you just play whoever offense on Riley Moss with your wide receiver too. I think Riley Moss has to be the guy that Drake Maye and Josh McDaniels circle when they're game planning for this game. We saw Brandon Cooks have a few big plays on Riley Moss. I don't think Riley Moss is trash. I'm just saying that with how good the Broncos secondary is, you can have some big plays on them, especially with Drake Maye's ability to improvise. I think that's going to be very big in this game. The Patriots' big playability on offense against a very leaky Broncos pass defense occasionally. If the Broncos don't have the ability to run the football on offense, they have no shot at beating the Patriots in the AFC Championship. The Patriots have a top 5 run defense. They have only given up 48 yards against the Texans, 87 rushing yards on the ground against the Chargers. So it's very hard to run on this Patriots defensive line. They may not be that great getting after the quarterback, but they're elite when it comes to their ability to clog up those running lanes. And if you're Mike Vrabel and the Patriots defensive coordinator, you want this to become a game that Sean Payton has to win, being able to out-coach you and out-scheme you with Jarrett Stidham. Could that happen? Could Jarrett Stidham go on the Nick Foles kind of insanity run in the AFC Championship, lead them to the Lombardi? There's a possibility that happens because you trust Sean Payton, but that's not the kind of game that Sean Payton wants to get into. He wants to be able to play complementary football. You make the Broncos one-dimensional and force Jarrett Stidham to beat you, you play right into the strength of your defense, which is your secondary. The Patriots secondary has plenty of favorable matchups against a Broncos wide receiving core that's very banged up right now. Courtland Sutton is the only reliable receiver that you know can do some damage no matter who's lining up against them. The Patriots have Christian Gonzalez. We all know how good he is. Do you know how good Carlton Davis is? Yeah, he's been really good for the Patriots. Marcus Jones, their slot corner, he's been outstanding. Not only is he a weapon and kick returns, punt returns, special teams, he can be used a little bit on offense, but he's been one of the better slot corners in the NFL this year. So outside of Courtland Sutton, there's not too many receivers on this Broncos offense that really put fear in your heart if you're the Patriots secondary. And their secondary, if this ends up becoming a drop back pass game from Jarrett Stidham, he's throwing the ball 35, 40 times for the Broncos to win it. You love the Patriots' chances being able to come away with a few interceptions, a few takeaways. This is a game that the Broncos, more than anything, have to have the ability to establish the run. If the Patriots have a similar way to win this game, if they can't run the football, you trust Drake Maye to win this game if it comes down to it. Yeah, Drake Maye has had a few mistakes and whatnot, but the Broncos defense isn't as good as the Texans defense. I know if you're a Broncos fan, you're going to get mad at that, but the difference between the Broncos defense and the Texans defense is the Broncos rely more on splash plays. They rely on getting turnovers and big moments, being able to get big sacks and third down situations, obvious passing downs. The Texans can just suffocate you. They're like a boa constrictor. It's hard to move the ball on them since they got a good run defense and a very good secondary. They're also very good in the red zone. The Broncos, they could have their best performance of the season. We know Vance Joseph is one of the better defensive coordinators in the league, but you still expect for Drake Maye to make a few plays because Josh Allen was making a lot of big plays against the Broncos. He just had 4 turnovers, and that ultimately is what won the Broncos the game. If Drake Maye can just limit the turnovers to maybe 1, possibly 2, I trust the Patriots defense to get more than enough stops with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. If Drake Maye has to win the Patriots the game, I believe he can do so. So if the Patriots win this game, it's going to come down to their ability to completely take away the run from the Broncos offense, force Jarrett Stidham to beat you throwing the football with how good your secondary is, 3 very phenomenal corners, a very serviceable pass rush. You feel very good about the Patriots' chances being able to win an AFC Championship and get right back into the Super Bowl for the first time in a while. If the Rams are going to beat the Seahawks in the NFC Championship, they're going to have to play way better than how they have in their previous 2 playoff games. I feel the Rams have been sleepwalking throughout the postseason this year. They haven't played as well as what you expected them to before the playoffs started. Before the playoffs started, the Rams were the majority of people's pick to win the NFC and the Super Bowl. Right now, The Seahawks, they kind of look like the team to beat right now, since the Rams have kind of been struggling offensively. Their defense has kind of regressed a little bit, even though they did play very good last week against the Bears. They held the Bears to only 17 points. They came away with 3 interceptions on Caleb Williams in that game. The Rams defense can also replicate the same game that they did against the Bears against Sam Darnold, since the Rams defense seems to have the secret sauce against Sam Darnold. Every time Sam Darnold plays the Rams, he just sees ghosts. I don't know what it is. He just doesn't play good against the Rams. Against the Rams, in the previous 2 years that he's gone up against this team, he's thrown 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So the Rams have to force Sam Darnold to beat them. Can Sam Darnold beat them? Is he capable of being able to beat them? Absolutely. But the thing with Sam Darnold is, even when he's at his best, he still gets reckless with the football. He's just that kind of quarterback that he's going to have 2-3 plays throughout the game that are going to make you yell at the TV and scream, "What the hell were you doing throwing that? What were you thinking even trying to make that play?" And Sam Darnold's recklessness could hurt the Seahawks late in this game and help the Rams win, since winning in the playoffs normally comes down to how well can you take care of the football? Can you win the turnover battle? And the previous 2 times that the Rams and the Seahawks have gone up against each other, they've been able to be the beneficiary of Sam Darnold's reckless play. Now, the second game that they played, Sam Darnold, in spite of the turnovers that he had, the Rams still ended up losing, since they choked the 16-point lead, since their offense completely got flat in the last final possessions in the fourth quarter of that game. Sean McVay and the Rams, however, have gotten better every single time they've played Mike Macdonald and this Seahawks defense. The first time Sean Payton went up against Mike Macdonald's defense this year, he scored 21 points. The second time he went up against Mike Macdonald's defense, he scored 38 points. Matthew Stafford also has gotten better every time he's going up against this defense. His first time seeing the Seahawks, he had 130 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He was averaging 4.6 yards per pass, and he completed 53.6% of his passes. In the second game that Matthew Stafford went up against the Seahawks defense, he carved them up. He had 3 touchdowns. He was averaging 9 yards per completion, and he threw for 457 pass yards. It's probably the best performance that any quarterback has had this season against this Mike Macdonald coach Seahawks defense. You're going to need another terrific performance out of Matthew Stafford in order to win this game. You know that the Rams are going to have the quarterback edge in this game. Matthew Stafford, he can throw 30-plus times, and you don't have to worry about him turning the football over as much as Sam Darnold. The quarterback edge, the edge that Sean McVay brings with his offensive prowess, how much of a brilliant offensive mind he is, with this being his third time seeing this defense, you can definitely expect for this Rams offense to play a lot similarly as what they did the last time they went up against the Seahawks defense. And the last time they played Seattle on offense, they scored on 7 out of their first 8 possessions. The thing is that they only scored 1 time in their final 6 drives the last time they played Seattle, which is why they blew that 30-14 lead. But they didn't have Devontae Adams in that game. With Devontae Adams being available this go-around against the Seahawks secondary is going to have a lot more to worry about. We know how good Puka Nacua is. He's been the best receiver in the NFL statistically. And then also Devontae Adams, yeah, he's still a guy that can get it done. Even though he's not what he used to be in his prime, he still is a very good receiver. And the tight ends have been very big for the Rams offense throughout the second half of this season. They've gone very heavy when it comes to heavy tight end sets, 11 personnel, 12 personnel. They love using a lot of tight ends. And the Seahawks going up against these heavy tight end sets, you wonder, are they going to be equipped to have the kind of guys to defend against these tight ends? Because these aren't just your normal tight ends. The Rams have 2-3 tight ends that are very athletic, very good at getting down the field vertically, being able to win one-on-one, contested jump ball situations. So I think that the curveball that Sean McVay is going to throw at Mike Macdonald in this third meeting is going to be the utilization of more heavy sets on offense. And when you have a lot more big bodies on the field at tight end, it makes it a lot more easier to run the football, to get the play action pass game going. The Seahawks also have to worry about Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams has also been very good for the Rams this year. Once you get Matthew Stafford going, then you can get Kyren Williams going. The Rams can use the pass to set up the run. And that's what makes this Rams offense so lethal. There's just so many weapons, so many different ways that they can beat you on offense. It's a headache to game plan for. If the Seahawks are going to beat the Rams to win an NFC Championship, they're going to have to get a big game out of Kenneth Walker. The Rams' run defense has not been that good. They gave up 160 yards against Chicago Bears on the ground. The last time the Seahawks and the Rams played, Kenneth Walker got off on them. He had over 100 yards. He was averaging nearly 9 yards per attempt in that game. And the Seahawks have ran for 135, 171 yards on the ground against this Rams run defense the 2 times they played this year. So they have an obvious advantage on the line of scrimmage, on the offensive line against this Rams defensive line that has been very disappointing at times, considering the amount of young talent that they have. Guys like Byron Young, Jared Verse, they've been solid, but they haven't been great. And coming into this season, they were expected to be great, and they've just been okay. Those guys are really going to have to be able to fill those gaps in the run game and be able to slow down Kenneth Walker, because despite the injury to Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker is more than equipped to be able to carry the bulk load of the Seahawks ground game. I feel he was the better of the two backs between him and Zach Charbonnet. More explosive, has more agility, the ability to just cut back and find those other running lanes on the other side of the field. His vision, he's very good at not just being able to stay upright and run through tackles, run through contact, but he also has a lot of elusiveness as well. So he's one of the more all-around backs in the league as far as his skill set. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can get yards after contact. He can make you miss with power or elusiveness. And if the Rams can't stop Kenneth Walker, then you allow the Seahawks to not ask Sam Darnold to have to do that much, which is key for the Seahawks, because when Sam Darnold plays the Rams, he just sees ghosts. So you want to limit the amount of times that you ask Sam Darnold to throw the football, since you're going to limit his mistakes. The less you ask Sam Darnold to do, the more efficient he is. The more you ask him to do, the more risk you run into him having a very costly turnover. The Rams defense struggles when their pass rush is ineffective. That's what the strength of their defense is. Their secondary isn't really that good, despite the performance that they had against Chicago Bears. Their pass rush, when it's on, that's when this defense is at its best. When Sam Darnold's mistakes have happened against the Rams, it's been because the pass rush of the Rams has just been too much for him, and it has sped up his decision-making. When his decision-making gets rushed, he doesn't do a good job of being able to decipher those disguised pre-snap coverages. Like, there was one interception that he threw late in the last game that these two teams played where he got user-lurked by one of the Rams' defensive linemen. So when you get that pass rush going and you're able to throw a bunch of different looks and a different coverage disguises at Sam Darnold, he really struggles being able to take care of the football. Now, the thing about Sam Darnold's struggles is that also he's been outplayed by Matthew Stafford the 2 times that these two teams have gone up against each other. But throughout the playoffs this season, Matthew Stafford has been a little bit off. Now, he hasn't been trash. He's just been off. He hasn't played as well in the postseason as what he was throughout the regular season. And I think a lot of that is attributed to the nagging thumb injury that he's trying to play through. The Rams' offense just hasn't been functioning at full capacity full capacity in the playoffs this year. McVay's play calling has also been a little bit off. He can kind of overthink himself on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. I don't understand why he doesn't call the tush push a lot more. Now, you don't got to put Matthew Stafford behind center to get the tush push, but you can at least put Kyron Williams underneath center or one of your tight ends to do the tush push. It's just sometimes in 3rd and 4th down situations, Sean McVay's play calling can be very questionable. And the Rams' interior offensive line, they got worked against the Chicago Bears. And their interior offensive line at times has been the best in certain situations, which is probably why Sean McVay doesn't have a lot of confidence in trying to run the tush push in short yardage situations, and why his play calling has been a little bit questionable. I don't think he has a lot of faith that his offensive line is going to be able to hold up in this game. So this is probably going to be a game that the Rams are going to have to win on the perimeter. And when you try to beat the Seahawks on the perimeter, you play right into the strengths of this defense, which is this outstanding secondary with Devon Witherspoon, Imamori, who has been the runaway defensive rookie of the year this season. You know, there's just so many talented players that the Seahawks have in their secondary, how they're just able to get after you, just rushing for, sending extra guys. They have a variety of exotic packages that they throw at you defensively when it comes to their blitz schemes. The Seahawks defense could box the Rams the same way that they boxed Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers last week. Now, obviously, the Rams are a much more talented team than what the 49ers were, since the 49ers have been so banked of injuries. But just like how I said earlier when I was talking about my keys for why the Rams can beat the Seahawks, how this is Sean McVay's 3rd time seeing this defense, so he has a better understanding of Mike McDonald's tendencies, what he likes to do, certain situations when he likes to blitz a lot. Mike McDonald, this is also his 3rd time this season going up against Sean McVay and his offense. So there's probably a few curveballs, a few wrinkles that he's going to be able to throw at Sean McVay that he may not be able to game plan for, be able to make adjustments for. And that could be what ends up flipping the outcome of this game, and the Seahawks end up beating the Rams for a 2nd time this season. And also, the biggest question about the Rams in this game is their special teams. Special teams is such an overlooked aspect of this game, since the Rams special teams has been very atrocious this year. They got rid of their special teams coach midway throughout the season. They had a block punt against the Carolina Panthers. Their kickoff coverage, their punt coverage has really been that great. The last time the Rams played the Seahawks, when they lost that game, what kicked off Seattle's comeback when they were down 30-40 was that punt return that Raheed Shaheed had. And we saw Raheed Shaheed take the opening kickoff back last week against the 49ers to the crib for 6. So with the Rams' deficiencies on special teams, the Seahawks could get a few extra points off that. They could have some favorable field position that they get off that. And that special teams, as the struggles that the Rams have had on special teams, could be a big reason why the Seahawks end up winning this game. Special teams can be very crucial in a game like this, where you have two teams that are somewhat evenly matched. The difference could be special teams. There's hidden yardage, there's hidden points that you can get from being able to dominate on special teams, and you love the Seahawks' ability to take advantage of the struggles that the Rams have had when it comes to the special team side of their team. So if the Seahawks end up winning the NFC Championship over the Rams, it's going to be because Kenneth Walker is able to take advantage of a Rams run defense that gave up over a $160 against the Bears. He also got off on them the 2 times they played. The Seahawks have ran for 135, 171 rushing yards on this Rams defense. You keep the ball out of Sam Darnold's hands. You limit the opportunities that the Rams have at coming away with turnovers from Sam Darnold. And also, you mitigate the impact that the Rams pass rush will have on this game. Their defense is so heavily dependent upon their ability to get pressure with their defensive linemen. And if they got to send extra guys, there's a good chance that Sam Darnold could make them pay. And Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, they're going to have to play their best game of the playoffs since they haven't really played that well on the offensive side of the ball in their previous 2 games. They've kind of been sleepwalking. So don't be shocked if the Seahawks end up winning this game and it's a little bit one-sided, because the Rams right now can't really say I have a lot of confidence in them being able to win this game with how they just have sleptwalked through the postseason, in my opinion.